Love my friend Malcolm Beck, but Malcolm still thinks Roundup's okay. I don't. Roundup has proved to be an endocrine disruptor. Roundup has been studied in a number of places and is, if it doesn't do anything else, let's pretend that it does, that it's perfect, other than it is really detrimental to the health of the soil. It kills a tremendous number of the microbes that we need for our soil to be vital. So even if it doesn't hurt us, and I think it does, Roundup, we've got to find a better source of a way to kill weeds.
I went up to that convention up there in Nacogdoches, but on the way back I stopped at the Tyler, Texas.
Tyler, Texas.
But they have the Tyler preserve there.
Yeah.
And they said they don't use Roundup because it causes the frogs to be deformed.
What it does is, you're absolutely right. Roundup is, as we've discovered, is a disruptor of a lot of beneficial funguses. Our frog and salamander populations are dropping by precipitous levels from a fungus. That's the biggest single reason. Well, guess what? When you have beneficial funguses to control it, then the fungus that hurts the frogs and the salamanders are not able to take over. But when you put things out like Roundup, it suppresses the beneficial fungi, did I say that right? And the frogs and the salamanders are in tremendous trouble, especially in Iowa and Wisconsin, where the most concentrated uses, because of the crops they grow, are using Roundup. Roundup, I'm sorry, again, it's not legal in EU, in the European Union, or in most of Asia, but because of the pressure that the government gets here, we're allowed to sell this stuff free will. You can go buy all you want. You can buy enough to kill the whole neighborhood if you want. I won't keep you on this except to look at a few numbers. Okay? What we're looking at is organically grown and non-organically grown, and I get tired of everybody saying, well, it doesn't make any difference. If you look at the calcium and phosphorus and magnesium and things, there's potassium, iron, look at the difference in, well, let's just take a look at a few of them. Snap beans, organically grown, non-organically grown. Look at the numbers without me pushing this on you. And you're going to find out that indeed, things that are organically grown are better for you. There was a big fight about that. The ones that this chart doesn't even show, no, we'll go on from this. What it doesn't show is the phytochemicals and the flavonoids and the things that we've now found out, though, is at least as important to the health of our bodies as vitamins are. Vitamins we learned vitamins a long time ago. Tomatoes is an ideal example, since it's one of the most common fruits we eat. Call it a vegetable if you want. The difference in the number of healthy phytochemicals and flavonoids in a tomato grown organically versus one grown commercially is literally off the scale. And it's not whether I do it or A&M does it or somebody else. It just does not get those protective phytochemicals if it's grown with chemicals and pesticides. Now why, one might ask. You know, we never thought plants have an immune system, but they do. When you get a plant that gets bit by a bug, it starts putting out phytochemicals to protect itself. It puts out flavonoids and it even puts out some pheromones that tell other plants near it that haven't been bitten by the bug, hey, you need to protect yourself because there's some bugs coming in, whatever you want to call a bug. Well, the very same thing that protects that plant is the same things that protect our bodies. We use those. We've evolved to use those. So when we think that we grow everything sterile, a Miracle-Gro and pesticide, that plant doesn't have to battle anything. It doesn't put out anything to take care of itself. Well, it also doesn't put out anything to take care of you. That's how it works. And we're learning more and more. We're, I think, probably still on the edge of a true education of how much we get from the plants that we eat. If I had to tell you one thing, we're going to get into what I was supposed to talk about tonight, and it's fertilization. If I had to give you one thing, and you couldn't buy anything else to just start off with, I would tell you to go get some molasses, either dry or wet. And I'll tell you how you can prove it to yourself. Get a gallon of molasses from Michael that you would ordinarily eat, or a quart. Just go get a quart. And put 2 or 3 ounces in a gallon of water, and go and wash, pour your name into your soil where your lawn is. And go back in a week. your name will be written on the lawn. It'll be so much greener than the rest of the lawn that you can read it. And I almost guarantee you that 90 out of 100% of you can do that. Why? Because we've taken all the carbon, we've taken all the sugar, we've robbed the soil of everything that's vital by only using NPK, and this stuff is starving for it. So when you pour that on, those guys go to work immediately, and you get your name written in the lawn. Now the good news is, if you do it right and you get it caught up, one day you're going to go out there and pour the molasses and it won't do anything. You'll say, oh, it's not working. No. You've now built up the level of the microbes so that the molasses is no longer a catalyst. You see what I mean? When I first went to Betsy Ross's, which is one of the best cattle raisers here in the state, she raised grass-fed cattle east of us. You could look across her fields, and everywhere that there was mounds of green grass, and they'd be spotted. You know what they were? They were the cows urinated and deposited their goods. Well, the soil was in such need that that was the only place the grass grew really green. Now she's been putting about 5 to 7 gallons of molasses on her soil for 10 years. She's been using a number of different compost teas. She has actually put out some composted material. Now you can't, pardon my French, you can't tell where the cow went, because the whole level of the life of the soil has come up so that it's healthy enough that, by all means, the manure is still a good thing to have. But that's not the only place the stuff grows now, because all the soils come up to a level that's livable. It's a very, very good indicator.
I had a question.
Sure.
Dry molasses and feed-grade molasses, is that the same?
No, let me tell you what dry molasses, and I'll fight with my friend Howard Garrett all week about this. He sells dry molasses because he's got his picture on the bag, and he makes a quarter every time you buy it. I'm not knocking that. But dry molasses is rice hulls or wheat hulls or wheat whey that has been soaked in molasses and allowed to dehydrate. And his sales pitch is, and I have to give him some credit for this, when you do that, you get the sugar, you get the carbon, but you also get the actual carbon material of whatever the carrier is, whether it's rice hulls, wheat hulls. And he's saying that synergistic relationship gives you more bang for your buck. But I'm telling you that a $3 gallon of molasses put out probably gives you a heck of a lot more energy than a 50-pound bag of dry molasses. Now, having said that, sometimes it's easier to put dry molasses out. I actually have 100 pounds at home right now. But in general, I find that the best investment is feed-grade molasses. Pleased that they haven't put an antifungal in it. A number of them are now putting antifungals in them to prevent them from adding containers so they feed them to the deer. I want fungus to grow where I live. I don't want to help kill it. So that you can get it from feed stores that are not treated with antifungals. And of course, Bear Rabbit and organics, if you want to spend the money. If you only got a little garden, it's just as easy to go to For Goodness Sakes. But if you're going to buy quantity, then you need to go to a feed mixer and buy it by the 5 or 10 gallon jug. You take your jug and they fill it up for you.
55-gallon drum.
55-gallon drums, even the better guy. I happen to be using, who is this today? Oh, this is Maestro Grow, but it doesn't matter. If I had to sell you things besides molasses, the next thing would be what's in this. We're talking about seaweed, and we're talking about humic acids and molasses, and I would add fish to this, which I'll get to in a moment. I contend, and I've done this for years, that with compost tea and a good seaweed mix with seaweed and fish emulsion and some humic acids, I don't need anything else to grow a garden. It'll keep going and going and going. I like to keep the material in there and get my organic matter in. But I've been growing the garden for a long time in one place and experimenting. I have my own, which I don't promote, called Dooley's Own Natural Elixir. And it's basically this stuff, or it's Howard Garrett's juice, or whatever you want, with a few things added. And I do year after year, and my plants continue to grow very well. Growing vegetables and plants is not rocket science. You know, if it gets to be that hard to work, then maybe you're better off to buy it. It should be fun. I got a 600 square foot garden I'm working with, and I have fun with it. Once in a while the ducks get in and steal some stuff, and I throw rocks at them and they get away. But